full of plot twists. The murder of Sister Abhaya.
There's something especially disturbing about crimes that happen in places people consider sacred. A church, a convent, a dormitory filled with prayers, silence and trust. Because when violence happens in a place like that, it doesn't just destroy a life. It destroys the illusion that some places are untouchable. And this case took almost 30 years to solve. Not because there were no clues, not because the truth was impossible to find, but because too many powerful people wanted the truth buried. This is the story of Sister Abhaya, a 19-year-old nun found dead inside a well in India in 1992. At first, police called it an accident. Then they called it suicide. But years later, the truth that finally came out sounded less like a normal murder case and more like a conspiracy thriller. Secret affairs, corrupt investigations, destroyed evidence, witnesses disappearing, and a mysterious hacked television broadcast that exposed everything to an entire country. What makes this case terrifying isn't just the crime itself. It's realizing how easily institutions can protect themselves, even when an innocent person dies. Before she became known as Sister Abhaya, her real name was Pina Thomas. She was born in Kottayam, India, into a poor Catholic farming family. And to understand this story, you need to understand how rare and significant that already was. India is predominantly Hindu. Catholics are a minority there. So for many deeply religious Catholic families, becoming a nun wasn't just a career choice. It was an honor, a spiritual achievement, almost like dedicating your entire existence to God. Pina was known as shy, intelligent, and deeply gentle. The kind of person who didn't like conflict. She loved studying, loved church, loved structure. People around her said she admired nuns from a very young age. And unlike most childhood dreams that slowly disappear once adulthood hits, hers stayed. In 1990, at just 19 years old, she officially joined religious life and took the name Sister Abhaya. Abhaya means courage and protection, which feels painfully ironic when you know how her story ends. She lived in a convent dormitory called St. Fidelis while attending college nearby. Her life was simple: strict routines, prayers, study sessions, dormitory rules, early mornings. Nothing about her life suggested scandal or danger. And that's part of why this case shocked India so deeply, because Sister Abhaya wasn't someone living a risky life. She wasn't involved in crime. She wasn't surrounded by dangerous people. She was a teenage nun studying for exams. That's it. Everything changed on May 27, 1992. The night before, Sister Abhaya told her roommate, Sister Shirley, to wake her up around 3 a.m. so she could study early before an exam. Normal student behavior. At 3 a.m., she woke up exactly as planned. Her roommate later confirmed she saw Abhaya getting ready. Still sleepy, Abhaya walked toward the kitchen to wash her face and drink water. That was the last time anyone officially saw her alive. Around 5 a.m., the convent bell rang. Sister Shirley noticed something strange immediately. Abhaya's study lamp was still on, but she was gone. At first, maybe that doesn't sound alarming, but then they reached the kitchen. The tap was still running. Water was spilled across the floor. A bottle had fallen over. And lying there was one of Abhaya's sandals. Just one. And sometimes tiny details matter more than dramatic ones. Because think about it. If someone accidentally slips or falls somewhere, why does only one sandal come off? Why was the kitchen left in chaos? Why was the water still running? Something interrupted her. That's what it looked like. The nuns searched everywhere. No sign of her. Finally, they checked the well nearby. And there she was, dead, floating inside the water. At this point, most people expected a serious investigation. Instead, police immediately tried to shut the case down. They claimed she accidentally fell into the well while sleepy. Case closed. But one officer named Agustin wasn't convinced. And this is where the story gets frustrating. Because the suspicious details were obvious. Why would Abhaya fetch water from the well when the kitchen already had running water? Why were there injuries on her body? Why was the scene disturbed? Why did nothing line up? Officer Agustin pushed for an autopsy, and the results changed everything. Sister Abhaya had injuries on her head and back. There were signs of blunt force trauma, but even worse, there were indications of sexual assault. Suddenly, this wasn't an accident anymore. It was potentially rape and murder. And once that became clear, the entire atmosphere around the investigation changed. People started acting nervous. Evidence became inconsistent. Reports were incomplete. Some injuries disappeared from official documents. Even the police photographer noticed scratches on her neck. But somehow those details never properly appeared in the final reports. That's when suspicion started shifting away from random outsiders. Because here's the uncomfortable question. Who even had access to the convent at that hour? This was a protected women's dormitory. Strict schedules, strict rules. Someone inside either knew what happened or helped hide it. And this is the part people sometimes miss when discussing cases like this. A cover-up usually tells you the crime is bigger than the crime itself, because accidents don't require manipulation. Truth doesn't require intimidation. When multiple people start altering reports, losing evidence, or pushing weak explanations, it usually means someone important is being protected. And institutions are terrifying when they go into self-preservation mode. Religious institutions, governments, corporations, sometimes protecting the image becomes more important than protecting human beings. That's when ordinary people get sacrificed quietly. Months passed. Then investigators somehow arrived at an even stranger conclusion. Suicide. Despite the injuries, despite the inconsistencies, despite the suspicious scene. Authorities claimed Sister Abhaya jumped into the well herself. Her family refused to believe it. And honestly, imagine being her parents. Your daughter dedicates her life to religion. Then suddenly she's found dead under suspicious circumstances. And instead of answers, authorities keep changing the story. Accident, suicide, confusion. It must have felt like watching the truth get erased in real time. The family began protesting publicly. An activist named Jomon Puthanpurakal joined the fight and became one of the loudest voices demanding justice. Years passed. Nothing happened. The case slowly became one of those stories people whisper about, but assume will never be solved. Until 2005, 13 years later, a thief named Raju was arrested for stealing from the same church compound. During questioning, he casually mentioned something shocking. On the night before Sister Abhaya died, he saw two men entering the women's dormitory late at night. That alone was explosive, because men were not supposed to be there. One of the men, he said, was Father Thomas Couture. The second man? He didn't know at first, but later investigators showed him photographs. And he identified another priest, Father Jose Putricayil. Suddenly, the entire direction of the case changed. Now, investigators weren't looking at random theories anymore. They were looking directly at church officials. And that's when things got dark. A new CBI investigation team reopened the case. Eventually, they subjected the suspects to narco-analysis. Basically, a controversial truth serum procedure involving drug-induced questioning. Now, legally and scientifically, narco-analysis is extremely controversial. It's not considered fully reliable evidence, but what allegedly came out during those sessions changed everything. According to investigators, Father Thomas and Father Jose, and Sister Sephi, another nun tied to the dormitory, were involved in a secret sexual relationship. That night, they were together inside the convent. Around 3 a.m., Sister Abhaya unexpectedly walked into the kitchen and discovered them. Panic erupted. According to the confession narrative, Sister Sephi struck Abhaya in the head. She collapsed unconscious and then, instead of helping her, they decided to silence her permanently. Investigators believe the unconscious Abhaya was dumped into the well to stage an accident. And if this is true, what makes it especially horrifying is how fast ordinary fear became murder. Because that's another uncomfortable reality about human psychology. A lot of terrible crimes are not carefully planned by evil masterminds. Sometimes people panic. They fear humiliation, fear exposure, fear consequences, and in one impulsive moment, someone else loses their life. What also shocked the public was the allegation of sexual assault before her death. The case exploded nationally, but even then, the truth still almost disappeared again. Because the narco-analysis recordings, the confession CDs, they were suddenly damaged, scratched, unreadable. Then one of the experts involved mysteriously vanished. At this point, the case genuinely started feeling less like a normal investigation and more like a political thriller. Too many coincidences, too many obstacles, and then came the strangest part of all. The confession footage somehow aired on Indian television, national television. Somebody hacked the broadcast and leaked the recordings publicly. Nobody officially admitted responsibility. But many people suspect someone inside the government IT department intentionally leaked it because they were tired of watching corruption bury the case. And once the public saw those recordings, everything changed. The pressure became too massive to ignore. Finally, in December 2020, 28 years after Sister Abhaya died, the court convicted Father Thomas Couture, Father Jose Puthricail, and Sister Sephi. Life imprisonment, almost 3 decades later. But the victory came with tragedy. Abhaya's parents had already died years earlier. Exhausted from fighting for justice, they never got to see the verdict, and that part hits hard. Because sometimes justice arrives, just painfully late. This case leaves behind so many uncomfortable questions. How many investigations get manipulated behind closed doors? How many powerful institutions prioritize reputation over truth? How many families give up because the system is simply too exhausting to fight? But I think the biggest thing people miss about this story is that the case only survived because ordinary people refused to let it disappear. One honest officer, a persistent family, activists, whistleblowers, investigators who kept digging. Without them, Sister Abhaya probably would have remained just another accidental death. And maybe that's the scariest part. Not the murder itself, but how close the world came to never knowing it happened at all. Whether you believe every detail of the confessions or not, one thing is undeniable. A 19-year-old nun died under deeply suspicious circumstances. And for decades, powerful people tried to convince everyone it was nothing. But truth has a strange habit. Sometimes it disappears for years. Sometimes it gets buried under paperwork, fear, politics, and silence. But eventually, it finds a way back to the surface.